Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. My name is Caitlin from Florals.com and today I am showing you how to make this card right here. It's just a simple hello card. We'll be doing a different sentiment today, but I'm using this exact image and these similar colors for this tutorial. These are colored in with the Arteza real brush pens, and I'll have a link down below so you guys can learn more about them if you wish. I'm definitely getting more into them after working with them on a few different cards like this one. They definitely leave a smooth finish, which is really nice, and they really just do well with this paper. I'm not sure about a lot of other papers, but this is the Neenah Solar White cardstock, and it's been really great to color with them on here. So let's jump into some of the supplies you'll need to make this card. First off, I have a pre-stamped image, again on that Neenah Solar White cardstock. This is not the 110 pound, it's only the 80 pound. So it's flimsy, but again, it's not our card base, so it doesn't matter as much, but that's okay. And I stamped that with VersaFine pigment ink. This comes in a large size like this and also a small size. And I stamped that, and you can see here, I'll show you the stamp set. So this is the stamp set. It's called Studio Light Basic Stamps, and this is from Joann's online. I've never heard of this stamp company before. But if you can tell, this pot goes all the way around in the back. I simply wiped my stamp off there, and I'll put that back in after just so it didn't cut through all of my little branches from my flowers here. So great stamp set. I'll probably be doing a set of these with the tree as well, like a little olive, orange, whatever kind of tree you want it to be. Really cute examples on the back here as well. I'll have this link down below. Hopefully they still have this one. If not, I'll at least have the company on Joann's listed down below so you guys can still look at what else they have to offer. For this card, I also use a white base cardstock, some plain black cardstock, some sequins, a light purple pattern paper, which is from the Kathy Davis collection. I think this one's just called Journeys, and it's purple. Lots of great colors in here. This is an older paper pad from Kathy Davis, and I do believe it's no longer available. Let's see, it's 2012, so I doubt this will be available anymore. And for our sentiment this time, I'm using this little guy here. I have a bunch of these stickers. They're just card stickers, sentiment stickers. And these were from Julie's Boutique, and I picked these up at Target quite a few years ago, and I'm still working through them. They're actual stickers, which is nice because it just sticks right on. And that'll be the final touch. So let's start off with the coloring. A simple coloring tutorial again. I asked you if you guys wanted to see this, and you said yes. I'm going to keep the original over here, and then also have the what I'm coloring now over here. So my Arteza pens are still in their containers that they were originally in, these little plastic trays. I'm going to pull out the colors that I want to use. I'm going to pick out a yellow for the middles of my flowers. This one is Bumblebee Yellow. That's it for this tray, so I'm going to set it aside. Next up we have blues and greens, in at least the order that I have mine in. Then I'm going to pick out the green tea, which is one of the lightest greens for my leaves. And of course you could pick multiple colors. I'm just going for some simple cards. And if you guys didn't know, this month I am participating in a card drive with Spiegel Mom Scraps and the Ink Road called Sparkly Inks Card Drive. And we're collecting cards to donate to local nursing homes and senior citizen homes around the US. So definitely check that out. I'll have it linked down below so you guys can participate. Next up, I also picked out a bluish gray for this pot, which happens to be this one here, which is called Parma Gray. Getting a color scheme going here. And then the next tray is the pinks and purples, but before I go I have to pick out a brown to color my sticks with and my dirt with. So I'm going to pick out ginger for the sticks that are holding up the vines, and then let's go for a darker brown, probably this one here, called Tawny for the dirt in the pot. Next up we have to pick a purple out for our flowers. Last time I think I went with this medium purple. No, I think let's see, Wisteria or Periwinkle. I think we're going to go with Periwinkle this time, maybe more of a blue. No, our paper's purple, so we're going to stick with the purple I used last time, which is Wisteria Purple. And again, going to set these aside, just so they're out of our way for now. And there is no watercoloring on this. There is a pen that comes in the Arteza set, but I'm not going to use that, a water brush pen, but I just didn't feel the need to use that. One thing I will say about these, I originally wanted to do an initial, like, impression video about using these. And one thing I noticed is that these brush tips are very, very large. They do come to a point nicely, but a lot of the new, like if you open a new marker that I haven't used yet, it's often kind of frayed and you have to use it a little bit before you can get that fine point status like these ones. Like they need to be reshaped or something. So be on the lookout for that if you're picking this up. I'll have the link to Amazon and to Arteza down below because Amazon does do lightning deals, but Arteza also has sales on their website. So to begin, we're going to start with the purple flowers just to get that pop of color on there. And it's just a simple technique. Like you can kind of tell on this one that the tip isn't as pointy as that last one. And a thing that I liked about the first card that I did is that I picked out some of the more curved leaves to be sort of buds for new flowers. Maybe that's intended to be that way, maybe not. I'm not 100% sure. But that's just what I did, so I'm going to do that again and pick out some of these buds. And I found for this particular stamp when I was coloring it that I did have to jump around between the colors, mainly because I'd forget that there was a flower in one spot, so I'd see it but kind of not realize it was a flower and skip over it, so I'd have to go back. And this is a really easy stamp set to do a lot of different sentiments with. Just a simple floral set here, and I really like that they came with two different pots, so you can do some different heights, or you do all sorts of things. And these pots work great with other floral sets too. I don't have many that come with pots, so it's probably a great way to do a lot of variation. So you can kind of see I'm just going to lightly color in all the flowers. And this purple in particular does have that, like the end is not as clean as I want it. And what you can do is grab a piece of scrap paper, if I can grab one. And then you'll be able to sort of shape your bristles. So it's just a piece of scrap. I'm going to take it and sort of roll it and kind of pull it off. It just seems like these ones aren't as pointy as the other ones. I don't know if they're just not as long. It's not that the color doesn't come out or anything, it's just not shaped the way that the other ones are. So you can always try to reshape them with some extra patterned or extra scrap paper. So just lightly filling it in. These are bigger bristles, so I don't recommend too many detail stamps unless you're just going to use these with a water brush and pick up the color that way, because it is somewhat difficult to use these on detailed images. With an image like this, you do have a lot of detail. And I'll talk about that more when I move into the yellow to color the center of the flowers, because that's where it gets really difficult. And these two cards that I'm creating, the one I already have done and the one I'm making right now, will both go to the card drive, which will be super fun. I think I'm almost up to 20 cards to donate, and I hope to have at least 30, because I want to make a lot of people's days brighter by donating the cards. Now some of these cards will have messages in them from me, so that they'll go directly to the people there, and some will just be given blank to the people that work at the nursing home to give to residents on like their birthdays or on a holiday, so certain things like that. So here I think I got all the flowers. I'm sure you guys are seeing some that I didn't get, but for now I'm going to put up the purple. Again, this is Wisteria Purple, very beautiful purple color. And now I'm going to move on to the leaves, and this is the green tea color. The leaves are less ornate than the flowers, mainly because you don't have the center to worry about on the leaves. You can just color them all one color and not have to worry about it as much. Now there is a vine on here, but that does stamp whatever ink color you're stamping with, so I don't have to worry about coloring it in, which is nice. But I do have to worry about coloring in the pole after. These sort of flowers must be like a vine flower because there's a pole that they're connected to. I wonder what kind of flowers are these. I don't think it really said on the package, so let me know if you know. They look like pansies because they have that bellflower, that trumpet shape, but I'm not 100% sure. I'm sure there's tons of stamp sets with all sorts of different flowers out there, which is super fun for different types of coloring and cards. So you want to make sure you're going all the way to your dark edge, and make sure you're using an ink that works with your markers. Since these are water-based, you'll definitely want to make sure you use a waterproof ink. And of course there's a lot of videos on that. I don't have a lot of inks to stamp with. I only have like a couple. Otherwise I would do more videos on that. But there are tons of videos out there, and you guys can check them out if you're interested in seeing if you already have one that'll work, or if you have something that might work instead of the one that I used. It really just depends on your preference too, because you could always just do a water-based ink and then heat emboss it, and then you don't have to worry about it for the most part, as long as you heat emboss solidly and it doesn't come off in any spots. You shouldn't have to worry about it running off. Now I can see some of the buds that I missed while I was coloring, so I'm going to come back in with my Wisteria Purple and simply color those in. It's very easy to miss some of these because they're intertwined with the leaves, and then when you look at it you're like, that's a curved line, so it can't possibly be a leaf. Or maybe they are leaves and maybe I'm just coloring them wrong. You never know. Okay, now that I'm looking at it, I think all the flowers are done. Now I'm going to go in with the lighter brown that I picked out, which is called Ginger, and color in those sticks like I did over here. And of course, depending on what color pattern paper you want to use as your background, you can change the color of your flowers, of course, because flowers come in so many different colors that we don't really have to worry about not having something that matches. And of course we always have cardstock to use as well. A simple plain colored cardstock, maybe with an embossing or a light pattern on the back, another stamped pattern, would look great with this as well. I asked you guys on my Insta stories if you guys wanted to see a tutorial on this card. You said yeah, because who wouldn't? I also want to try my hand at freehanding some of these kinds of designs, like using my Copic marker and kind of drawing these out and then seeing if I can color them in. Well, I guess the drawing's the more difficult part. I can color anything pretty much okay. But trying to draw a realistic image like this, because I've always been interested in learning how to draw more, but I've never really pursued it deeply. Okay. The sticks have been colored. Do you see how quick this is coming together? Then we're going to come in with our Bumblebee Yellow. And this is going to be the fine little insides of our flowers. And I said these were pansy-ish looking flowers. Pansy-ish. They're trumpet-looking flowers, so technically the middle might not be yellow, but in my world it's going to be yellow. You just want to color those in very lightly and make sure you don't go too much onto the purple. It won't make that big of a difference since you started with the purple and now you're going into yellow. The main problem would have been if you went yellow to purple, then they might mix and make a brown on the petals, which you don't really want, unless you want that color, obviously. Next we're going to go into the pot, which Parma Gray is what I'm using for my flower pot. And what I tried to do on this one was I did like a single layer of color and then I did a double on the middle and then like try to make it different colors, but it really evened out pretty well, so I didn't really get to do that. And like I mentioned before, we will have to draw in those lines later on, and I'll show you on this finished one. I do like these to dry before I try to write on them, so I'll show you guys on this one how I can draw in the background and make it look like it's actually a stamped image. So what I really liked about these Arteza markers on this paper in particular is that they smoothed out so nicely. Like, I felt like they were going to be splotchy because I often find that my zigs look a little splotchy. But I also think that's the way I color, so I wasn't 100% sure. I definitely need more practice at coloring images. I'm not perfect, no one is. So practice makes perfect, especially doing them live on camera. Helps me slow down a little bit because during seasons like this where I want to make a lot of cards, I often rush through certain elements. Like coloring is supposed to be pretty relaxing, so I hope you guys are able to color along so you guys can relax, but I often rush through items like coloring just so I can move on with my projects, and it definitely is supposed to be a relaxing thing. So now I'm going to go over this section a second time, trying to make sure I get all the way up to the line so you can kind of see that contrast with the lower section. And what I could really do is blend two colors together to get a better contrast, but this is supposed to be a simple card, so mainly coloring. And this was stamped on an A2 size layer, so this is 4 1/4 by 5 1/2, so I could just put it on a card. But for this tutorial, we're just going to cut it out. So just going to keep on coloring. I often like to do one design all the way across, like this, the up and down, or the side to side, or the circles, because I often think it gives a nice, unique effect. It's like the way I'm drawing it now, my heavier strokes are on the outside, my lighter strokes are on the inside, so it sort of gives it a highlight in the middle, or almost a pattern. You know those pots that have those indents on the sides? That's kind of what it looks like. So we're going to keep doing that and call it intentional, and then I don't have to go and fix it. And I even went over the line, which is fine, since I'm using the same color on the top and the bottom. So now I'm just going to brush this one in. They just sort of have an airbrush quality to them. I don't know if I've just not been paying attention or not, but I really didn't like my zigs when I first started using them. So maybe this is my problem. Maybe I wasn't using the right paper at first. Now that that's done, I think it does look splotchy. And sorry if my hand gets in the way. I know I didn't say that earlier, but I'm sure it was in the way for a little bit of that camera work. And now for the rim. So we do have to freehand the rim on the back side, but I'm going to start with the side that is filled in because I'm not a crazy person who just freehands things. But if you're not comfortable freehanding something, of course you can totally just stamp it across. I would stamp the pot before the flowers. I happen to do it the other way around, mainly because I want to make sure my flowers would fit, but of course you can check that before you stamp anything. No big deal. And you also don't have to fill in the back. You can just leave it as is if you'd really want to. So I'm just going to come around here, pretend it's a little pot, and make sure it meets up in the middle. And it's okay if you mess up. It's a little bumpy, but that's fine. So now that's going to dry, and we can move on to our dirt color, which I picked out as tawny. This is a darker color. I'm not sure if it's that exact color. It might not be, but that's okay. And again, just going to color this in. Try not to overlap your colors too much, especially on that back side, or you'll get a dark, weird blue color. But if you have an awkward encounter, you can always cover it with your black liner if you plan on coloring in that back section with your outline. Let me know how you guys like to do your cards. Are you more of like a non-stamper for your cards, or are you a stamper? Or do you think cards aren't your thing? Let me know. I really like making cards, especially when I get to give them to somebody I know. That's for sure. So probably keep seeing card videos from me. And like I said, I'm not going to do the outline on this one. I'm actually going to set this aside to dry. These are smearable, not highly likely, but they are smearable. The pen that I'm going to use today to finish lining my pot here is this Le Pen Marvy pen. I don't remember what it is. I think it's 0.3. I don't know. It's very, very small. So what I'm going to do is come around. I'm going to go over where it was before, just make sure it kind of lines up, and slowly trace around my coloring. Obviously not going through the poles, going around the poles, because that's the whole point of wiping our stamp off. And now we have a small line behind our pot. And now it's not even, but that's okay. I'll show you guys a little closer look, because I understand that I am kind of far away. You see how there's that line behind there? Now I'm not going to do an inside line on the pot, because there should be a shadow line for this second lip thing on the inside to kind of give it that. But since the colors are meeting right there, I don't really have to do that, and I'm too nervous to do that. So we're going to put that away. And you can also see that my coloring's not perfect in that in that zoomed in shot, which is again totally fine. And again, this is a Le Pen Marvy pen, very small black pen. I wish it had the 0.3 or the 0.5. I think it's a 0.3. I think I have another one somewhere in the packaging, but I'm not 100% sure where that is. Okay, so we have this ready. Now let's get our pattern paper ready. So like I said, I'm using this Kathy Davis collection Journeys. And if I just flip through, I should be able to find the one I used. Of course, there's several other beautiful papers I could use in here. Here it is. I think it's the last one. I like this color. Yep. Using our supplies is always a good thing. I'll grab my paper trimmer, and this is going to be cut down to 4 by 5 1/4, because because our card is going to be 4 1/4 by 5 1/2, so you want that small edge around the outside. So 4 also cuts off this piece that I can use on another card by 5 1/4. Nice simple trims there. So that's going to be our base, or I guess our card front, and then I'm going to have to trim this down. I'm going to let it dry a little bit longer. I'm also going to grab a card base. Now I have my card bases pre-made. These are just 110-pound white cardstock from like Joann's. They're 8 1/2 by 11 sheets that I cut in half and then fold in half. So that's how I make my A2 size cards. I've had a ton of these stocked up because of the card drive, so I always have more to get ready to make a card with. I actually have to replenish my stock, so I might do that this evening. So this is going to go right here, as you can see. And then this is going to go on top of that with a black border on it, like this one shows. And I'll get that black cardstock out after we cut this down. So I just didn't measure this at all. I knew it was already shorter than 4 1/4, or by 4, I mean, when I did it the first time, you can just kind of tell it's shorter than the whole distance there. So I'm just going to trim trying to keep it kind of even all the way around. And since this is Neenah cardstock, you can easily save these larger scraps for stamping other things. Smaller images perhaps. Sentiments stamp really well too. Trying to leave the same border on the top and the bottom and the 2 sides. Since it's not a symmetrical image, so the spacing's a little bit wonkier than you'd expect. Now this one's a little bit smaller than the last one I did, which is fine. It's got a little fuzzies on it too, which again, totally fine. And now we're going to get a black cardstock. Here it is. I misplaced my supplies. So this is just 80 pounds, so thinner black cardstock, and I'm just going to glue that onto here with my ATG gun. Really simple stuff. You can use any adhesive. If you are using liquid adhesive, be careful not to put too much because you will warp your paper very easily, and we don't want that. So we're just going to put this on here. Trying to make it nice, even matte all the way around, which can be one of the hardest parts in my opinion. I always feel like one side's bigger than the other. And then trim the bottom off. And now we have the main component. So we're going to start gluing our card together. First the base down, which is this beautiful light pattern paper, which of course you can DIY your own backgrounds for your cards very, very easily. If you guys would like a tutorial on making your own like pattern paper with your stamps, let me know. I'm always up for more video ideas. Always. So just kind of line that up. Should be an even border all the way around. Kinda. It's a little wonky. Again, it'll be okay. As long as some of the sides are straight, it'll look fine. And then glue on this. You could pop this up on foam adhesive to give it a little bit more oomph, or just put it as is. And I'm doing mine off to the right. Now before I place it, I want to make sure that my sentiment will fit next to it without covering up too much of it. So I'm doing this cute thinking of you, which has a similar floral pattern on it. So like that. And then I'm just going to peel this off. So let's put these two next to each other now. Let me know which one you guys like best. I kind of like this pattern on the pot, but it also kind of bothers me. I wonder if it's picking up well on camera. I definitely think it's going to bother me. But again, it also looks like one of those pots that has those indents on it. So now we have our little sticker. And of course, if you're a little bit OCD like I am, you put extra adhesive on everything. So we're just going to put that down. I usually do bottom right or bottom left sentiments just because they tend to be heavier. So the only reason I pulled in this black mat on this was because these were black and white. It really helps make it a little bit more cohesive. And you can see that we have some sequins on the left card over here. And let me see which ones I used last time. Here they are. These ones are called Grape Juice from Spiegel Mom Scraps. The perfect purple sequin mix if you're ever looking for a purple sequin mix. And to attach my sequins, I just used some liquid adhesive in my fine line bottle. So I'm going to pull out some of these lilac ones because they're perfect, as well as some of the silver ones. They've got this really cool like indented shape on them. But of course you can make a whole shaker card about these sequins right here. Absolutely beautiful purple color, which I think is an underrated color in the scrapbooking world specifically. Not necessarily the card making world, but definitely the scrapbooking world. So I just pulled out 2 of each, similar as to how I have them on this card. I'm going to put them on here. 2 little pairs, so 1 silver in one corner, 1 silver in the other corner. Kind of helps you move your eye across the page, and these guys are very difficult to work with today. I usually use my quick pick up thingy-bob, but I know it'll be in the way in this video with my ginormous hands. So just a little bit of liquid glue goes a long way, especially when there's a hole in the middle of the sequence. You definitely want to be careful of that. And then the last one. Of course, you can also use glue dots or different types of, there's all sorts of adhesive, different types of liquid adhesive, and so much more. So that is our tutorial. I will fill this background line in once it's a little more dry. It always makes me nervous to do it because I'm always afraid the colors are going to bleed, and I don't want that to happen. So obviously I let this one sit for over a day now, so it's perfectly fine. So I'll do that to this one to finish it off. But that's it for today's card tutorial. I hope you guys enjoyed. Let me know if you did. Definitely a simple way to do it, and I will have this stamp set linked down below as well as all the other supplies in this video. If you guys have a specific stamp set or types of cards you'd like to see me make, like if you want folded tutorials, like different folding cards, like the cool ones, the really cool ones that are complicated, let me know, and I'll definitely do something like that. But that's it again. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye!